All right, sorry about that technical glitch. We had a little bit of a crash there. But and earlier today, the White House released this video showing the deportation process. I really love this as a former prosecutor.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up.
It just never gets old. I love it. And that is what real leadership looks like, where American citizens come first, and where violent criminals, brutal dictators, and their enablers are held accountable. And joining me now, your favorite lawyer, I want to say mine too, hello, Article 3 Project founder, Mike Davis. Mike, and apologize for that brief delay earlier, but we're back on track. Thank you for joining us today. Always a pleasure. And I just kind of want to get your play-by-play on what happened with these flights and this judge's action. I've been waiting till today to hear it from you.
It's unbelievable that this DC Obama judge, Jeb Boasberg, moonlighted this weekend as the commander-in-chief. He went into his chambers on Saturday during the middle of a national security operation where the president of the United States is coordinating with a foreign leader, the president of El Salvador, to deport the most vicious terrorist in the Western Hemisphere, Tren de Aragua, along with MS-13. And this Obama judge in D.C. not only held this hearing during the middle of this operation. Now, he says it was closed door hearing, but it's not in a skiff. So, of course, these details could leak out, and they did leak out during the middle of the operation, which puts American lives in danger, grave danger, along with the lives of our allies. This judge, Bozo, actually thought he had the power to order the president of the United States to turn around these planes and bring back these vicious terrorists. We saw the video that the Salvadorian president posted.
Yeah, Nayib Bukele, great guy.
With the operation, the security operation, with the handoff of these terrorists from America. They land in El Salvador. They're handed off. It's on your screen right now. This
is unbelievable.
Intense security operation, and this goofball judge in D.C. thinks that you can just turn around these flights and bring them back to America without having these security precautions in place. Did he know how much fuel were on these planes? He did not have the power to do this. This was the most egregious sabotage of the president's commander-in-chief powers by this judge, and this is why I am calling for his impeachment.
Good. I agree. You can't do this. This is the whole thing. The reason why President Trump, one of the many actually, reasons why that he was elected, because people want to stop this lawfare, and these judges are out of control. And you're right. He was trying to usurp the power of the president of the United States, like he's the commander in chief, and issue an illegal ruling. It is highly improper. It should be actionable, and there should be some accountability. Okay. Let's talk to the folks that are watching. You know, what did this Looney Tunes base this ruling on? And what does the language of the Alien Enemies Act tell us and about the president's inherent Article 2 authority to conduct foreign affairs?
The president is the commander-in-chief and the chief executive officer under Article 2 of the Constitution. He has the power under the Constitution alone to repel invasion of our country. And that's exactly what these illegal immigrants coming into our country from Venezuela, this Tren de Aragua, these are vicious terrorists who are coming to our country. The president has designated them as foreign terrorists. He has every right under Article 2 of the Constitution as the chief executive officer, as commander-in-chief, to get them the hell out of our country. Not only does he have the right to do that, he has a duty to do that. And these judges, these activist judges, didn't raise any concern when President Biden illegally mass imported these vicious terrorists over the last 4 years. But then when President Trump gets them the hell out of our country, they think they can stop them. This judge in D.C. can go to hell. In the meantime, the House needs to impeach him. They need to defund him. They need to make him an example out of this guy, so these activist judges know there are going to be severe consequences when they do this crap.
No, you're absolutely right. And we cannot have this. There needs to be a precedent established that this is improper, that it will not be tolerated, and there can be no subsequent acts in any way, shape, or form like what this judge did. It's out of control. Like you literally are violating the oath of office. He should no longer be able to wear a robe, okay? And the president's order was very explicit. It directly links, Tre de Aragua and Cartel de los Soles to Maduro. What does that mean for further action and further efforts to stop the violence and drug trafficking?
Well, the direct tie between these international terrorists and the Venezuelan government shows that they are transnational actors. They're working for the Venezuelan government, and so that means the president can use the statutes from 1798 or whatever the statute was, and he can use that statute to get these foreign terrorists the hell out of our country. There is minimal due process that they can get under the statute. President Trump satisfied that. He has a duty separate from that statute. He has a duty as commander-in-chief to repel this invasion. And these people are kidnapping, robbing, raping, torturing, and murdering Americans. Apparently that was acceptable for Joe Biden, but there is a new sheriff in town, and Donald J. Trump is not going to put up with this.
Yeah, and the president is also tasking the DOJ to come up with a plan on how to carry out these tasks, okay? What should that look like, and what role will the FBI have in all of this?
Well, Kash Patel is the FBI director. He's phenomenal. Pam Bondi is the attorney general. She's phenomenal. They are bold. They are fearless, and they are going to carry out the president's orders as they must. The Justice Department is not independent of the president. These Democrats oftentimes say that. What they mean is that the Justice Department is independent from Republican presidents while they do the Democrat president's bidding. The Attorney General, this is how it works. Every federal prosecutor and agent in America works for the Deputy Attorney General, who works for the Attorney General, who works for the president, who's elected by all Americans. And the president has made a policy determination that he doesn't want these illegal immigrants in our country, particularly these terrorist gangs, these international terrorists, foreign terrorists, and he's going to get them the hell out of our country. And we have an Attorney General and an FBI director and a Secretary of Homeland Security and Tom Homan. They are doing their jobs very, very well. Stephen Miller, they are getting these people the hell out of our country as the president has commanded.
I love it. Yep. Meanwhile, President Trump, and this is very interesting to me, and I know to you, we're like two peas in a pod. President Trump says that the Biden auto pen pardons are void. I mean, this is so amazing. What are the relevant statutes and case law, on a situation like this, which is kind of novel? And has something like this ever been litigated? I mean, what's next?
So I think that what President Trump said in his truth post, and he's correct, it's not just the fact that these were auto pens, because a lot of politicians use an auto pen, including past presidents have used an auto pen. The issue is the person who's operating that auto pen, are they carrying out the president's will? Does the president know that they're signing pardons on his behalf? Does the president approve that? Does the president oppose that? And that's the problem with Joe Biden, is he was so demented, so out of it, that we don't know if these pardons were legitimate. Were they legitimately carrying out President Biden's will to pardon these people, or were staffers running in and citing pardons against his will or without his knowledge? Did Hunter Biden run into the auto pen room at the White House and sign his pardon? We just don't know. And the president's absolutely correct. If they sign these pardons on President Biden's behalf without his knowledge, without his consent, or against his will, they're not valid. This is forgery. This is obstruction of justice. This is conspiracy. There are many federal crimes, and if you're not signing these pardons with the president's knowledge and consent, they're void.
Well, and I think this is a pretty serious issue, in that it's one that I don't know, that really needs to be drilled down on, that they need to figure this out. There's a serious argument to make those null and void. And what could this mean if that would occur, for Hunter, for Schiff, what a list, Fauci, others.
How you would test this is you would bring indictments against people who were pardoned, who are criminals, and then when they go to present their pardon, to say that they are not subject to the criminal prosecution because they have this presidential pardon, then the judge would decide at that time whether the pardon was valid or not. So let's test this.
Yeah, I think so. Very interesting. Okay, so if Biden's legal signature was used, as you've been mentioning, that perhaps is the case, without his consent or knowledge, couldn't this have, far-reaching effects beyond just the pardons? Because how do we know there's other things that weren't similarly situated?
Yeah, that's exactly right. This is why you can't elect a demented president.
Every time you say demented, I'm just like, oh my
Well,
God. Because it's really true, by the way.
Yeah, I don't know what else you would call it. The guy doesn't know what he, had for breakfast, and he's the president of the United States, and people are signing pardons behind his back, and apparently he didn't know about some of these pardons when he was asked about it by reporters. So Alina Hava had a really good post on this. She posted that a picture of Jill Biden and said Jill Biden was #AutoPen. So who knows who's running this country, but it certainly wasn't Joe Biden.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right about that. It's interesting. I can't get the visual out of my head of Hunter running into the auto pen room and then, just signing away. And what about this talk, that we highlighted in the beginning of our conversation of impeaching judges? What is the process, or what does that actually look like? And what about the injunction bonds on some of these cases?
Yeah, so let's start in reverse order. If you seek an injunction against the government, you have to post an injunction bond. So, for example, one of the injunctions that was sought and ordered was when these activists ran to this radical judge in D.C. Biden judge Ali, who barely got through. He brags he's the first Muslim and Arab on the D.C. federal court. He is a Canadian citizen. I don't know how the hell you can still be a Canadian citizen with dual loyalty and be a federal judge for the rest of your life. But this judge ordered the president to send $2 billion in foreign aid against the president's will. The president wanted to pause this to make sure, for example, that we're not funding Hamas terrorists under the guise of Gaza humanitarian relief, or we're not, funding waste, fraud, and abuse like transgender frogs or whatever the hell it is in Pakistan or wherever this money's going. And the president has every right. He actually has the duty under Article 2 to make sure we're not funding terrorism or waste, fraud, and abuse. And this judge came in and said, you can't do that. He issued this illegal temporary restraining order, which is supposed to pause the case. I don't know how sending $2 billion is pausing the case. But when you do that, you have to put up an injunction bond. So if it comes out later that this $2 billion should not have been spent, the government can recover this $2 billion with an injunction bond. So the judge didn't order this injunction bond. And then all this did in the Supreme Court, of course, with the Chief Justice and Justice Amy Coney Barrett, did not stop this on some stupid civil procedure grounds that was legally flawed. And so here we are 2 weeks later, and now this DC Obama Judge Boasberg is ordering the president to turn around flights during the middle of a national security operation. Thank God they didn't turn around the flights, but it just shows you that these radical activist judges are emboldened. They're sabotaging the presidency, and these judicial saboteurs need to be impeached and removed from office and defunded.
And what about Congress's oversight responsibilities over Article 3 judges? What is the roadmap here?
Well, I used to have that role in the Senate. I was the chief counsel for nominations on the Senate Judiciary Committee with the oversight portfolio over the federal judiciary. And Chairman Chuck Grassley just put out a letter today. I posted it on my social. I used to work for him. He's a great guy. He's going to start doing oversight on this, on the injunction bond issue, on these activist judges. He's tired of it, and he's gonna put an end to this. And so I'm working very closely with Chairman Grassley and his staff, along with Leader Thune and his staff, and several other people, to come up with legislation to make this painful for these activists so they stop doing this. And so if they want to play these political games, they're going to get political prizes.
Oh my God, I'm telling you, it's it's really unbelievable. What do you expect to be like the next steps here in terms of perhaps like an impeachment of that judge?
Well, they are working on impeachment articles right now in the House of Representatives. I'm going to make damn sure that there is political pressure on this judge. My goal is to get him impeached. He probably won't get removed because there are too many Democrats in the Senate, but I want to make the process the punishment. I want to make this judge go through this process. I want to make it painful. If he's sitting through impeachment proceedings, he can't order the president to turn around flights. And I want to make an example out of him. So if other activists, here's what happens. These DC judges, Democrat judges, and I know this for a fact, they are giddy. They are trying to figure out who gets to issue the next TRO against President Trump, and they're judicial saboteurs. I want to make this painful for them and other judges around the country so they think twice about doing this. I'm going to make them infamous. I'm going to make their jobs hell going through an impeachment proceeding. And even if they don't get removed from office, it's not going to be pleasant for them. Well,
and it shouldn't be. Actions have consequences. And if they're going to engage in this fashion, I mean, it's the audacity. It's egregious to say that you can actually try to overrule the president of the United States. And who was it? Bukele, or was like too late?
Yeah. Well, I would say this. This is what I would say to the Chief Justice, John Roberts. It is actually shameful that you have allowed this to happen. You've allowed these activist judges to do this around the country. You're the Chief Justice of the United States, and you are the Circuit Justice for the District of Columbia. And you have allowed these radical activists to sabotage the presidency. And because you're not doing your job in stopping this, Congress has to step up with impeachment in the House and aggressive oversight by Senate Judiciary Chairman Chuck Grassley in the Senate because you failed to do your job.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. But I love that everything's already in motion. And, I want you to come back, of course, often on the show, but to discuss this as this proceeds forward. I think it's very interesting, and I think it's very important to establish this precedent because we don't need this over the next 4 years, these activist judges going rogue and violating the Constitution. It's insane, and it's not going to happen under your watch and President Trump's.
We didn't have the Article 3 project at the beginning of the Trump administration. I was in the Senate confirming as judges. We have it now. There's no way in hell we're going to let activist judges sabotage President Trump's presidency again.
All right. That's music to my ears. Mike Davis, always a pleasure. And everybody go follow Mike's work. Go to article3project.org. Get involved, get informed, and be supportive. Thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you.
All right. And coming up, we'll have much more coverage on all of this. But first, free speech is under attack. But Rumble refuses to back down. We have always believed in empowering independent voices, and now Rumble is taking it to the next level. We are excited to offer Rumble Premium, a completely ad-free experience with exclusive benefits for viewers and creators. And it's more than a subscription. It's a stand for free speech. Your voice matters. Join Rumble Premium. For a limited time, you can get $10 off an annual plan using promo code KG10. So just visit rumble.com/premium/KG10 and claim your discount today. Again, that's rumble.com/premium/KG10. Now, earlier today, Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt was asked about President Trump's statement that the Biden pardons are void due to revelations about his auto pen scandal. Here was the scene inside the briefing room today. Watch.
Is begging the question that I think a lot of journalists in this room should be asking about whether or not the former president of the United States, who I think we can all finally agree was cognitively impaired. I know it took people some time to finally admit that, but we all know that to be true, as evidenced by his disastrous debate performance against President Trump during the campaign. I digress on that. But the president was raising the point that did the president even know about these pardons? Was his illegal signature used without his consent or knowledge? And that's not just the president or me raising those questions, Caitlin. According to the New York Post, there are Biden officials from the previous White House who raised those questions and wondered if the president was even consulted about his legally binding signature being signed onto documents. And so I think it's a question that everybody in this room should be looking into, because certainly that would propose perhaps criminal or illegal behavior if staff members were signing the President of the United States autograph without his consent.
Biden is on the record talking about issuing preemptive pardons to these people.
But was he aware of his signature being used on every single pardon? That's a question you should ask the Biden White House.
Is there any evidence on that he wasn't aware of it?
You're a reporter. You should find out.
Ha 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 ha. Did Biden even know what he was signing? Biden and the Democrats also gave us the border invasion. Do not forget it. They are the ones who got us into this mess, and it's why we need President Trump to get us out. And joining me now, Executive Director of the America Border Story, Nicole Kiprylov, right? Kiprylov, yes?
Kimberly.
Okay,
Yep.
perfect. So I just wanted to say welcome to the program. Super happy to have you. And, you know, a lot of news I know that you have been following and covering, as Tom Homan asked this weekend, you know, who in their right mind would try to weaponize the law to stand in the way of illegal alien gang deportations?
Well, first of all, Kimberly, thank you so much for having me. Let's make this very clear. President Trump is doing everything under his Article 2 constitutional rights as the duly elected president of the United States. He received a resounding mandate from the American people. We know over 77 million Americans voted for him. He won all 7 swing states, and he made historic gains with certain traditionally left-leaning demographics in this broadened coalition. And now a federal judge thinks he can override all of a sudden he can override all of that. He thinks he's a foreign policy expert and a national security expert. And that's just not how this works. Deference is given to the executive branch, to President Trump, in conjunction with law enforcement and his appointed cabinet members, to decide who is a terrorist, who is posing a national security risk, and who is not. This is the trust that the American people put in President Trump to make these decisions. People who are trying to say that, you know, it doesn't make sense to apply the Alien Enemies Act because it's too old. Like you said, Homan said it very clearly. The Constitution is even older than the Alien Enemies Act, and he said we still pay attention to it. This plane was carrying terrorists. It was already over international waters. The order doesn't apply anymore. So President Trump is within his legal right and executive power to do this. But also, let's think about this outside of a legal context. Again, these are terrorists, as White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt said in her press briefing today. These are heinous people: kidnapping, sexual abuse of a child, robbery, aggravated assault of a police officer. Tren Aragua is a foreign terrorist organization that the Biden administration has been supporting for years. And President Bukele of El Salvador was instrumental in these efforts. And, you know, he has an 83% approval rating. I don't know if people know that, but what does that tell you? It tells you that people want strong leadership, and they want leadership that's going to prioritize their safety.
No, you're absolutely right about that. And, you know, I had the pleasure of meeting him and attending his inauguration. And as a former prosecutor, I am really impressed with what he's been able to do with the maximum security prisons, and doing something similar in his country by putting these people away because they are domestic terrorists. Now, according to the White House, illegal crossings are hitting record lows. Thanks be to God. So we didn't need a new law, right? We needed a new president. I think that's pretty clear. What's the impact been like on the ground?
I mean, it's really remarkable what we've been seeing here with this new administration's progress on securing the border, from the impact on the ground to the stories that we're telling about all of the victims of the Biden border crisis. Just today, we got new information that President Trump deployed a Navy destroyer ship to the southern border to deter illegal immigrants from entering via our waterways. That's one route in which illegal immigrants have abused that not too many people are talking about. The border wall in Arizona has started to be built. I think 7 miles so far.
Yes.
We know illegal immigrant entries are down by over 95% at this point. And look, President Trump, within one day of being in office, got to work. He declared the invasion at the southern border a national emergency. He deployed troops. ICE raids started immediately, detaining hundreds of violent criminal illegal aliens. The CBP One app got shut down immediately. We know that was a big tool that Kamala Harris used to facilitate illegal immigration. And now with these flights to El Salvador, again, more than 200 violent illegal aliens transferred to one of the most brutal prisons for gang members. So the work that Homan is doing, the work the Trump administration is doing as a whole, it's about protecting the American people, ensuring this country is standing up for the victims of the border crisis, whose, many of whose stories we don't know, their names we don't know, but we know they're out there. And that's what we do at the American Border Story, is we're trying to expose the human impact of this. We know when we look at footage, live footage of the border now, it's empty, right? What a contrast from when Biden was in office. So this is all just really tremendous work. And, we're really fighting back against what the left has been doing, which is prioritizing criminals over the American people. Just think about that. So the Democrats have been trying to impede the work of ICE and federal law enforcement. They've been trying, as you know, Kimberly, tying the hands of law enforcement in general for years. But now they're trying even harder, and they are not going to succeed, because we know President Trump, the entire administration, is making America safer and better for everyone. That's the simple truth.
Biden allowed this invasion, and now we're learning he may never have even known what he was signing. If the roles were reversed, the media would be going nuts, treating the auto pen scandal as the biggest story in history. Where do you think this goes from here?
I think this is just a continuation of what President Trump promised to do, which is deliver transparency to the American people. We're going to find out a lot more. The biggest problem we had is that we didn't actually know who was president during these last 4 years. What was Biden present for? What was he not present for? We saw with that bombshell Wall Street Journal report that came out, this was one of the biggest cover-ups we've seen in history, with Biden's very clear cognitive decline. The people complicit in this were Biden's team, Biden's staff, Kamala Harris, her staff, the corrupt and dishonest mainstream media, Democrat members of Congress, Biden and Harris campaign surrogates, political pundits on the left. So I think the point here isn't if auto pen was used or not. It was, did Biden even know these pardons were being signed? Like you said. And as Carolyn Levitt said in her press briefing, everyone in the journalism world right now should be trying to figure out if Biden was even consulted, if his signature was being used on official documents. So I think President Trump is bringing up a very natural question here, and I think we're going to get a lot more information that the American people deserve to know.
They do deserve to know. It's so outrageous. I think it's such a huge scandal. It's so highly improper. And Democrats continue to point fingers and are as divided as ever. There's now even chatter on the Hill about Schumer's Senate leadership being in question. How would you describe the current state of the Democrat Party?
Democrat Party favorability has hit a record low, as we know, and that's not surprising at all. There is zero critical thinking and individual thought on the left. The only one who maybe comes even close is Fetterman. He's the only one who has a shred of common sense right now. But look, the Democrats, they can't have a leader because they don't even have a platform. They don't know what they stand for. Their hypocrisy right now is at an all-time high. They opposed the CR, even though it contains some of what they've been supporting for years.
It's crazy, just to be obstructionists. Yeah.
Exactly, because President Trump supported it, they're against it. They're usually so against shutting down the government, right? But now they're mad that Trump didn't want to shut down the government. And we know, Kimberly, that Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer are on record talking about waste, fraud, and abuse and the need to eliminate it. But because President Trump is finally doing what they've been talking about for so many years, because it's him, they're fighting tooth and nail against it. It's just ridiculous.
And President Trump's approval continues to rise, and gas prices are continuing to fall. How would you assess his first 2 months in office?
I think they've been extraordinary. I think they've been historic. We haven't just seen revolutionary rhetoric here. We've seen revolutionary actions. We know what Doge is doing, for example. We know the cuts. We know this. They're rooting out the waste, fraud, and abuse, all of the billions of hardworking American taxpayer dollars going towards funding radicalism abroad, funding radicalism within our agencies. We know Biden injected gender radicalism and DEI and all of this craziness into our institutions. He infused it into every single facet of our society. And now the Trump administration is rooting it out at a historic speed. And with these government spending cuts specifically, it's not just DEI. We've talked about that a lot, but also consider all of the useless things that are being funded by our taxpayer dollars. For example, positions of people sitting and collecting paychecks and software licenses for software that's never been activated.
Oh,
That's
it's
something
terrible.
new this week that we're learning. Billions of dollars going to software programs that have never been activated. It adds up. How could you not support what Doge is doing? These are our taxpayer dollars and our
Hard-earned dollars that, Americans out there working so hard to provide for their families, et cetera, and then they get taxed to death and it's being thrown down the drain with garbage.
Yep, absolutely. And again, historic wins. We have gas prices are down. We have core consumer goods prices down. We have egg prices are down. We have Trump managed to resupply our egg stock, right? Even though Biden tried to subvert him in the last few days before Trump took office, when he executed on a mass genocide of chickens. There were so many actions that
Oh my
Biden
God.
took to subvert President Trump before he even got into
How
office.
insane is that, though, by the way?
And as soon as President Trump got into office, he managed amazingly. I mean, I'm amazed. I've always been a big supporter of the president, but even I'm amazed at how much he's been able to accomplish so far, bringing in 10,000 new manufacturing jobs just in the last month, 9,000 new auto jobs, while meanwhile Biden cut 100,000 American jobs. I mean, the list goes on and on and on.
It's like playing for the other team, and now we have someone finally playing for our country. And let's talk about what you're doing at the American Border Story to get, the message out, to inform people, get the facts out about exactly what's going on.
So the American Border Story is a national organization, and really our work right now is dedicated to exposing the human impact of America's border crisis. And the main way in which we do that is through storytelling. We want to tell the stories of all of the victims, and not just, the Laken Rileys, the Rachel Morans, and the Jocelyn Ngarais. We also want to tell the stories of the ranchers in border towns who have been deeply impacted, the workers and businesses in the hospitality industry, people who have been forced to prioritize illegal immigrants over American citizens. We want to tell the stories of the victims of the fentanyl crisis that we know Kamala Harris and Joe Biden were instrumental in exacerbating. And we do that through storytelling, investigative reporting, and strategic media amplification. So we're focused on defending the truth and also taking the offensive against false narratives. And we want to highlight the voices of law enforcement, American families affected by these failed immigration policies, and also highlight what the Trump administration is doing to really bring true justice to the victims.
Yeah, it's so important, and you're doing important work there. So we're deeply appreciative. I've really enjoyed having you on the program, and I'm looking forward to having you back again very soon.
Thanks for having me, Kimberly.
All right. Thank you, Nicole. And my closing remarks just ahead. But first, also be sure to check out the 1775 Coffee Company. We're going to talk about it again and again, and we talk about it all the time. Don't compromise on taste, quality, or your values. 1775 coffee is brewed to perfection, crafted with precision, and it's built on patriotism. The farm to cup process means there is quality, there is authenticity, and sustainability from start to finish. All the beans are ethically and exclusively single sourced. So why not try 1775 coffee today? You can do it by going to 1775coffee.com/KG for 15% off your first order. And in closing, President Trump is showing what leadership actually looks like when you put your own citizens first. The borders are secure. The bad guys get sent packing. And life gets better for we, the American people. We are now writing our own American story. And this is just the first chapter. I want to thank you so much for joining us today. Every day is so interesting with President Trump back in office. Please be sure to download the Rumble app, subscribe to my channel, turn on notifications, like and share, and tell all your friends so they know exactly where to find us. And please also be sure to follow me across all platforms: X, Truth Social, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Stay tuned to Rumble for all the latest breaking news coverage. And don't miss Don Jr.'s big show at 6 p.m. Eastern with Eric Prince. I hope you have a great rest of the day, and I'm looking forward to talking to you again very soon. God bless.